everybody, and Wesak blessings, full moon blessings, full moon of the Taurus. So if you are there, I'd love to just get a message from you that somebody is listening. Even if nobody's listening, it's okay. I have the computer open so that it can tell me if somebody's sending a message. So I'm just going to be looking to the right because I'm recording on a phone. It's okay. Okay. Hi. Thank you. Hi. Portugal, Finland. Okay. Let me see where I can get the if there's comments. How I can get that on the computer. Okay. Can somebody just write? Yeah. Okay. Great. Somebody just wrote a comment so that I can see how to do that. Hi guys. Thank you. I'm trying to do it now with phone and computer. Okay, I don't seem to really figure that one out. No. Let's see. Okay. Well, I'm just going to trust that this is going to work, and I'll read your comments as they move through the screen. And if I miss something, my apologies. Anyway, the whole time I'll be mostly guiding, and then hi Lisbon, Adriana from Lisbon. If there's a time for sharing, then I'll find a way to figure out the comments. Okay, so we're leading up to the full moon, and this particular full moon, esoterically speaking, is the most important of the year. And I will explain about that. And the full moon is in Helsinki time, Finland time. It's at 1:45, so that's in about 2 hours and 15 minutes. And my intention is to complete this and give us enough time for those who have the time and they're not working or attending to other responsibilities, to sit in meditation and in silence and to just receive whatever downloads are there after this transmission is complete. So that's why we're starting now. One of the instructions that I had given for this meditation, for this ritual, was that you know which way is northeast. So if you don't know, you can look at your phone. There's a compass usually built in your smartphone if you have one. If not, just try to remember which way does the sun rise, and then figure your way. Okay, so the sun rises from the east. So if that's east, then you know where west is, and then you know where north is, and so then it's in between. Sundial, old school way. And the other requirement or request was that you have a clear bowl or a crystal bowl or cup of some sort with fresh water. So mine doesn't, so that I can show you. So I'm not tilting it everywhere, but I have water with me. So that'll be for the end of the ritual. And so if you don't have that, you can just quickly get that, or actually, yeah, you might use it at the later on. So okay, those were the only 2 requirements. So okay, let's begin. So we start with intention. We always start with intention. And as I like to say, we have free will. So let's use it. Our will of what we want for ourselves. And maybe there's a higher plan and this gets turned into something else, but still we can ask for what we want and connect to what we feel is right, or what our heart's longing is. So taking a moment and closing your eyes, and connecting to your heart center, or maybe some other body part that feels more alive right now. What is my intention for this meditation and ritual, for this full moon coming up in 2 hours, Wesak, and for humanity, for us as a collective during this time, this year? taking some deep breaths into that, feeling that deeply. The power of that longing, and the power of this moment, this incredible moment that we're living through. And you can let that rest and trust that it will work in the background as you go through this journey, and that maybe there's a higher plan for you that you're not even aware of. So I'm going to say a little bit about this time, and I have a bit of notes, so I'll be looking at my notes a little bit for that. As just to give you a background about Wesak and the importance of what we're doing now, today. So Wesak is a valley. It's a valley near Mount Kailash in Tibet. So Wesak Valley. And it is said that this full moon is part of a trilogy, 3-part full moon. For those who were in the Aries full moon meditation that I led, that was the first part. It was the Festival of the Christ, and this is the Festival of the Buddha. And then the one in Gemini, which will be June, the first, I think it's June 5th or 7th or 6th for us this year, is the Festival of Humanity. And they go by slightly different names, but basically there's 3 festivals. And so we're in the middle, and we're in the peak of the esoteric spiritual transmission that comes through annually and is grounded and lasts for the rest of the year. So it's a bit of a Happy New Year's thing happening. It's New Year's at Helsinki time, 1:45 in a way, cosmically speaking. So there's a master who has the initials DK, and Alice Bailey from the Theosophian tradition, and most recently Bruce Lyon, Trans-Himalayan tradition, has been channeling this master who does not have a body anymore, is in the ethers, but who sends guidance and has been sending guidance for, I think it's about 100 years or more, and connect to the higher plan and to what's in store for us. So the messages started coming again. The last round of messages were, I believe, 2010 through Bruce Lyon, and they started coming again when we turned into the zodiac of Aries this year at the end of March. And they peaked with the full moon in Aries, that festival of Christ, festival of Easter, and are still coming through weekly through Bruce Lyon. So what happens in the Festival of the Buddha, which is what we find ourselves now, is that a seed that was planted during Aries is then transmitted in the most powerful energy that there is in the cosmos to us on this planet, and we have a chance as humans, as human beings, to receive and anchor that transmission, that seed, and let it sprout and guide us for the rest of the year. So that's part of the importance from us down here perspective. That's part of why this is so important. So let me just see if there's anything else I wanted to say about that. Okay, so we have chosen the peak transmission during that time of Aries full moon, is that we as a humanity, we have chosen to move forward as soul, planetary soul, as opposed to a personality, and fight each other and the planet to death. So that's great news. Celebration. So that decision, apparently, from the ethers, that's what can be felt, even if right now in our little worlds, in our little bubbles, we can't feel that or don't recognize that. And for anyone who has gone through soul initiation at the individual level, you will know that soul initiation, your consent for soul initiation precipitates, it invites crisis. So crisis because there's tension and something needs to go for the soul flowering, for the soul embodiment, for the soul anchoring, for the soul to emerge fully. So that creates crisis. So this year has started off as that, very strongly so, and it will continue for the rest of the decade. For those who have been following my meditations, you very well have been informed about this. So this crisis can be seen as suffering, and that's if I don't go through it consciously, I can see it as suffering. Or it can be seen as a purification and a path to freedom. So the guidance that has come through in Aries and that has an opportunity to ground today is around this. It's about, do we move forward consciously and see this as freedom, or do we see this as suffering and resist? Either way, it's going to happen. We've already given our consent in the soul realms. So why not give our consent consciously? And that's what this meditation is about. So there's two aspects to that shift, and I'll come to that when we get there. First, I just want to say a little bit about the Wesak ritual, because we're going to go into it at the end of the meditation. At the end of the guided journey, we're going to do the ritual. So this guidance has two parts. One is the purification and preparation, and the second part is the actual Wesak ritual. So since 1946, Alice Bailey, who I already mentioned, has been sharing that the common man, the common person, not just men, women too, needs to become more and more aware of this festival, of this event, of this Wesak event, and not just be kept in the magical, in the mystical, magical realms of those who can tune in etherically. So it has been part of the mission to start sharing about this event. So now it's been, 65 years or so, and this is my little bit in that. So to share about what happens in the ethers. I personally have not been part of it in the ethers, meaning I haven't seen the journey for myself in my dream state or in visions or kinesthetically, but I have read about it. So I'm going to simply tell you what I have read about it in general, and we're going to evoke it, and we're going to become a part of it, because it is said that in the soul realm, we all go there. We all go to that Wesak Valley, whether in our personality realms, in our physical 3D world, we're just cooking lunch or changing diapers or snoring away at night in deep sleep. Our souls are meeting there. So in the Northeast, and this is why it's so important that you know which way is Northeast for you right now, there's a gap in this valley in the mountains. Otherwise, it's surrounded by mountains. And there's a large stone. On the stone, there is a large crystal container, which is filled with water. And there is a convocation, the lamas and the masters and those in the body still, and initiates and seekers all start to descend on this valley, and they take their rightful place. So we'll get to that in the ritual stage. They take their rightful place, and then this whole actual event, the Buddha's presence lasts about 8 minutes. So from the time he is seen to the time that he disappears from vision. So at some point, probably around 4 minutes before the actual full moon time. So for us today, it will be at 1:41 in Finland, whatever your time zone is. Then you start, the image of Buddha, the Buddha, begins to appear in the Northeast. And prior to that, there's chants and mantras, which are chanted rhythmically. And there's configurations of pentagon, five-angle star with its tip towards the northeast, cross, triangle, and then the 1. And so people take formations, and it's absolutely stunning. That's what it's written, and it's wow. And then the Buddha appears, and he is carrying a message. He's carrying the message from, let's say, God, or the divine, or the absolute, of the refined new plan for the year. And of course, there's an ongoing plan, and so what's the piece for this year? And then he transmits that to the Christ. It's not Jesus, but it's the Christ. It's a title, it's a master. And the Christ receives it on behalf of humanity. And then the Christ then shares it with hierarchy, which are the masters in charge of different ashrams in the ethers. And these ashrams all represent wisdom, all represent love. There's like the rainbows of love, 7 different types of love, which you might have heard me talk about in other meditations. So he transmits it to the heads of the ashrams, the masters of wisdom. They transmit it to their ashrams. So if you identify more with the type of love that's, let's say, more about the spirit landing in matter, then you belong to a particular ashram, and so you will get your transmission from Mary Magdalene, who's the master of that ashram. And so anyway, this is how it works esoterically. And then those initiates who are part of the ashrams then transmit to the masses. And so this is how it all trickles down. So Buddha comes, he transmits, he stays, total 8 minutes. The Christ chants a mantra that is only chanted once a year, once by him, that's done. And then Buddha then goes back. He is in a seated lotus position, then goes back into the ethers and disappears from our reach for another year. So this is the ritual, and we'll be going through parts of it together. And it's beautiful to invoke it in the physical realm, because what the greatest experiment that is happening in the cosmos right now in our solar galaxy is us, is this human experiment of, can I land the highest frequencies of spirit into matter? So for that, matter needs to be able to hold and sustain. And for us in this body, matter is our minds, our emotions, and our physical body need to be able to hold those transmissions and this way of living, and this amazing, amazing opportunity that we have. And it's an experiment, as you've heard me say in other meditations if you've been watching. Okay, so that's the background. And it's very strong to be able to tune into it now. It will be available for the rest of the year. So this is the Happy New Year's. And it's, the more we become like antennas, receptors, the more we can all be a part of it, as opposed to one person explaining or guiding or something like that. Okay. So the numbers that we're going to work with, there's 3 sacred numbers we're going to work with. The number 1, the number 3, and the number 7. I just explained about the Buddha, the Christ, and then the 3 is the triangle. There's a triangle also between 3 masters, and then the 7 ashrams and their masters, and so forth. So those are the 3 numbers that we'll work with, and we'll work with those configurations also in the ritual time. The symbols. Okay, so in the water represents the now more than ever is representing the Aquarian times, the Aquarian age that we're moving into, and the Aquarius represents the bearer of the waters of life. And so from the beginning, if you haven't poured your water into your receptacle, please do so now. I will also do so now. That you will be drinking the waters of life and this water would be what is holding the transmission. Okay, so now my bowl has water, and I'm going to now move it. So I hope your bowl has water, or cup, whatever you're using. Okay, so let's begin. So the guidance that has come, we need to anchor in love. Point blank, period. That's it. We need to anchor in love. So how do we do that? There are 4 portals we must move through as a humanity. Up until now, individuals have given their consent. Yes, I accept soul. I want to know myself as a soul. I want to remember myself as a soul. I'm willing to go through the crisis, and anything else for my soul initiation, give it to me, right? At the individual level. And now we're moving, because of the Aquarian age, into the collective group. So it's group initiation. So it's not just those who have consciously said yes. So this is an invitation, because it's during this powerful moment of Wesak that if you haven't taken your initiation as a soul, you can do so. And it can accelerate. If you have already done so, it can accelerate your place and where you are in that soul evolution. Celebration time. Yay! Okay. So we must go through these 4 portals. They can be broken down into, umpteen portals, but okay, how do we choose this time of crisis as freedom instead of suffering? 4 portals. Here we go. Okay, so closing your eyes. And this is an invitation to go as deeply and as brutally honest with yourself into the shadows and whatever you are hiding, keeping in the dark, that you wish no one else to see. Go there. Go there. Go there now, before full moon strikes. First shadow, first portal to go through in order to anchor in love. Greed. So this sense of I want, or even I need. I want or I need more. It's coming from scarcity mentality. I'm not enough, there isn't enough. Greed. So connect to your relationship with greed. And maybe at the beginning you say, okay, I don't have any, I'm not greedy. I'm so loving and so sharing, and I give everybody else everything, and I'm happy to remain with nothing or whatever. Okay, great. Keep going. Keep going. Next layer. Underneath that, greed. So at the physical and emotional levels, examine for yourself addictions or patterns of hoarding, stashing, hiding, lying, manipulating, all come together to support greed. So connect to that for yourself. Own it. Own what's there at the emotional and physical level around greed. That I want more, or some maybe even sexual addictions, more orgasms or more full body orgasms, or food, emotional eating, or I need to serve myself before anybody else does. Money. How am I gonna, and if somebody else is doing something, then how do I make sure I also get mine? And this competition and this, greed. Power. How do I feel that I don't have power and therefore I need more? Power. So naming now clearly for yourself, naming your ways of being greedy. This isn't a shaming of yourself. This isn't owning, taking responsibility for what is alive in you, because if you don't, it does take over, and it has been. We have been plagued by a couple of millennia or more of greed. So naming it loud enough to hear yourself. I am greedy in this way, this way, this way. Whatever the truth is. And notice, what does that do in your body, in your energy flow? What contracts or what gets accelerated? Your heartbeat, your breath, your base, your genitals, your heart, your hands, jaw. What happens in your body when you connect to your own greed and to your energy flow? Physical sensations and energy flow. And allowing your body to move, and if there's emotions that are coming, and if you have the space, you can just fully allow that, and if you don't have the space, you can just put your hands over your mouth, or take a pillow and scream into that, or hold it, or cry, or whatever you need to do. You don't have to sit in stillness by any means. So go behind it, go behind the greed. What drives it? What's the belief, the mental belief behind the greed? Something that has to do with I'm not enough, good enough, lovable enough, smart enough, successful enough, pretty enough, whatever enough. 1,000 ways of not being enough. But boiling it down to some version of I'm not enough, and there is not enough. There is not enough in the world. There's not enough love. There's not enough support. There's not enough safety. What is it? What's behind the greed? Go there. Recognizing that this is operating in the background, fully, actively, like you're an autopilot and it's driving this vehicle. And deciding for yourself in this moment, do I want to keep this automatic in the pilot seat, in the driver's seat? And allow the emotions, allow whatever's there, because your decision, and if the answer is no, this will no longer be the hidden program, subconscious program running things. That decision needs to come from a place of passion, from a place of high energy, totality. Because it needs to be as intense as when you wrote it, as when you decided, and that may have been coming lifetimes down, generations, ancestors down, all of society vibrating like so for thousands of years. So you gotta have enough energy riding in you to override that. It doesn't have to be explosive, it just has to be passion, intense. Okay, last moments with greed, and then we're gonna move to the next portal, assuming that you've walked through this portal. So you've got 2 more minutes. I'm timing it. 2 more minutes. How do we anchor in love? This is the guidance for this year. And if you feel anchored in that, like that's strong for you, you can write in the comments whatever your experience is, if you wish, just one word or a phrase, crystallizing it, materializing it so that it's here, fully here in the material plane, not just some mental, visual, or inner world experience. One more minute. It's a very powerful no that was just typed in. Last moments, bringing that to conclusion in your own way, but not dropping it, because that's going to automatically, when we open that door and walk through that door and go through that purification of greed, it leads us to the next door, and that's the door of selfishness. You can name it many other things, and yes, it is related to greed. That's why we go through the door of greed first. Selfishness. So the epitome, the example, is Gollum. My precious, all for me. That selfishness. Connecting to your selfishness, connecting to your inner Gollum. And yes, you can say, no, but I'm not selfish. No, not me. Not a hair on my body. Okay, great. Go behind that. Maybe it's selfishness that you're caring for your ancestors, your birth family, your community, culture, whatever. Fine. But it is alive in you. Selfishness. Me, mine, I. Connect into what ways you are selfish. And it can be masked in many different ways. Start to see through the veils of illusion. Your own selfishness, my own selfishness. And maybe even holding your love back, holding your sexuality back, holding your voice back, your truth back, not claiming your worthiness. All these can also be ways of being selfish, not just the I will take and I will hoard and I will keep and I will hide and no one will see. And coming down now, these different ways that you're selfish, coming down to the root. What do they all have in common? Different branches, one trunk. What do they have in common? Get to the trunk. What is the underlying selfishness of all of those branches? Different ways that you can be selfish and are selfish. That's about your survival and only your survival. One more minute. Just owning it again. It's not about blaming yourself or shaming yourself, but yes, owning, I am selfish in this way. I think of myself and no one else. last moments. Selfishness in the material plane, emotional plane, soul realm, selfishness. And now, feeling that you are one, this whole body is one. Yes, one form. And you are one cell. One cell. And next to you is another cell. Above you is another cell. To this side is another cell. Below you is another cell. Behind you is another cell. In front of you is another cell. Cells. Cells. Visualize it. So you're this one cell. All these cells, like a beehive, like the sacred geometry of the beehive. All these cells are making up this little dot on the cheek of this great being we call Earth. Keep going with the cells. They begin to form the entire mass, which we call Earth, this planet. Each cell, each individual cell. Yes, we are individuals. Yes, that is true. And we're different. Each cell is different. And the cells on my skin and the cells on my organs and the cells in my tissues, they're all different. Different organs, different cells, and even within the organs, different cells. Yes, different cells. But they're not disconnected. Feel the truth of that. As a humanity, right now, we are made of 8 billion cells. Each individual, each different, each unique, each here in its own journey. And none of the 8 billion separate from each other, because we are all the 8 billion cells. And this isn't even including the other kingdoms, animal kingdoms and plant kingdoms and so forth. We're all the cells of this one form, the Earth. Can you shift enough of your individual perspective to include difference, but not disconnection? Connecting to your heart and your heartbeat, feeling your heartbeat with your hand. This is the same heartbeat that beats, same beat, in every single other living being on the planet, from the animal kingdom, which includes the human beings. Feel the heartbeat, stay with it. There's only one drum drumming that beat. Keep your hand on your heart, keep feeling the heartbeat, and maybe just allow your body to move slightly with the rhythm of that heartbeat. And your breath, each inhalation you take is from the same air that we all share. We all share the same air. wherever you might find yourself on the planet right now. Just like all the waters of the planet are connected through the underground rivers, all the oceans, and through the clouds that take water from one end of the planet to the other. It's not really an end because it's a circle. We live on a sphere. Same with us. Same with each one of ours as cells. All of us connected. Taking a few more breaths and knowing that each breath you take, each heartbeat that beats, is that one heartbeat. No different. And from this place, facing this portal of selfishness, is there any possible way that I can survive if we don't survive? The greater we. Is there any possible way for me to survive? Because now you're going to your survival programming. Is it possible? Let your heart answer. Last minute to bring this portal of selfishness to conclusion, and then again, we're not dropping it because we're just going now to the next door. And we have 2 more doors. How to anchor love. So hopefully the reality, the truth, the absolute truth that I cannot survive if we don't survive, if this great being we call a planet doesn't survive. Hopefully that truth has landed deeply. And now we face the next portal as a humanity in our initiation, and the Christ that that initiation evokes, and that is fear. The portal of fear. So connecting to what is it that you fear most. Maybe it's losing a relationship, or maybe it's being harmed or being raped, or maybe it's death, or maybe it's the death of your children, or the suffering of your ailing parent, or of yourself. What is it that you fear most? Not being loved. Go deep, go deep, go deep. What do I fear most? We've already gone through some fear around not being enough, or there not being enough. So I'm not enough and there isn't enough, the scarcity. Last moments, connecting to what is it that I fear the most, saying it out loud, loud enough to be heard. Owning it. evolutionarily speaking, our fear, our primal fear, comes from living in a nature, in a world, in an earth where love couldn't ground, anchor, fully flower yet. So there has been the survival of the fittest, and we have had to have fear and strategies to survive. But in this decade, we have a choice, and this year is the seed of that choice to plant love instead of fear. And we've been planting for millennia and millennia and millennia fear. So that's what we've been harvesting. Fear-based structures and models in the economy and politics and in our families and in our relationships, in our religions. Tons of fear. Just taking a moment to close your eyes and connect to nature. This is our original disconnection. We go all the way back to the root of where this fear kicked in. It's when we disconnected ourselves from nature. Because we had to dominate it. That's what we believed, and that's what we did. As a humanity. Conquests. Ownership of land. Destruction of forests. Seas. Rivers. Species. So going to that original sense of, I'm afraid of nature. And so the only way I can survive is if I conquer, if I do a power over move. For that, I must disconnect myself as part of nature. Because I can't conquer myself. So going into that imprint of that you carry today, here in this body in 2020, not just a decision that was made during the dinosaur age or ice ages or whatever. My disconnection with nature, finding it in yourself. Whether it's the cycles of nature, lunar cycles, seasons, whether it's understanding yourself as part of the cycle of life of nature, or recognizing yourself as an animal and respecting that, honoring that. Your animal nature, your wild nature, your raw nature. In what ways have you disconnected from nature out there, in here? Another minute for this self-reflection. The only way to face this portal, the only way to face this portal, this disconnection, is to recognize yourself as part of nature. Fear can be yielded against you to manipulate and control you. But if you recognize yourself as part of the cycles of nature, as part of the force of nature, as a force, an expression of nature itself, just like the weather, just like volcanoes erupting, just like a tree growing, a flower blossoming, a river flowing. I am the same force of nature. There is no fear that can possibly manipulate or control you. And as a force of nature, I take my place in the cycle, in the web of nature, with kingdoms above and kingdoms below. I feed on other kingdoms and other kingdoms feed on me. And it is part of the cycle and the expression of love that is nature in its impermanence, the beauty of it, the impermanence of form, specific form, but the ever-permanence of matter as a whole. So of course, if I cling onto my little cell in this little spot on the cheek of this great being called Earth, which is just the root chakra of this entire solar galaxy, then yeah, I'll be suffering. No way to ground love on that one. This is our deepest fear. This is the root of our deepest fear, our disconnection from nature. So taking another minute. Reclaiming your place. This body is made of the elements, the 4 elements, 5 elements, including ether and stardust. The matter all over cosmos. So what fear is there of dying if I know I just dissolve and become food for the trees, for something else to sprout? And there's another form, another body, another incredible vehicle to ride this incredible journey, adventure that we call life, as a soul traveling in this planet. Where's the fear? What you do not give it away, let go of willingly, will be stripped from you at death. Everything you cling on to as matter and form, everything. And this is the next portal, the last portal that we must face in order to anchor love. We've gone through the greed, selfishness, fear, and now death. Death of what? Connecting to your own fear of death. Maybe you say, oh, it's okay if I go, but my children or my partner, I wouldn't want to see them suffering, or their death would cause me so much pain. It's still fear of death. Whose ever death? Whatever death. And death can be the loss of things or people, or structures of the life as the way we know it, which is exactly the initiation we're going through right now. Thank you, Corona. Fear of death. And the disconnection from death. Because when we disconnect from the cycle of nature, we disconnect from death. Nature, life, is not linear. It's not an A to B done. Cycles. Cyclical. So connecting to death as a purifier, connecting to your heart. What do I willingly offer to the purification fires of death? What's easy? Let's say some of your wounding, or unhealthy patterns, or an unhealthy relationship. What do I willingly offer? Take this, purify it, death. Take this. Taking a minute for this stage, trusting whatever comes. Maybe it's my identity as this or as that, my image of an addiction, anything. Physical, emotional, mental, energetic. Now the second face of death. Death is destroyer. Now death can come and kill, or I can give my consent for the destruction of that which needs to go. And if I trust in life, if I trust in the cycles of nature and myself as part of it, if there is no scarcity mentality, if there is enough and I am enough, and if I really want love to anchor, is there anything that I'm holding back from death? That I'm saying, don't look there, please don't look there, please don't see that I'm trying to hide just right here, back, or I've hidden it way under some covers in some back area of a closet or under the bed. Please don't find that, Grim Reaper, not that, please not that. Don't bring death to that. So how much am I really trusting in love? Am I prepared to let love anchor? Because death and life and love are one. One. No different. There is no life without death. There is no death without life. Death is love. Life is love. They're both expressions of love. So let love in. Let death in. In that place that you're hiding, that you wish that it won't touch. And can I give my consent? Can I give a carte blanche, green card, take? Whatever needs to go and is not in alignment with love, take. Or do I still believe that I know better? Am I still holding on to the little I? This little cell and this little point, this little cheek knows better and can do it alone and will somehow defy the odds and not die. So death is destroyer. 1 minute offering consensually that which you don't really want to, but know you must, so that love can land. No more pointing the finger out there to presidents, prime ministers, business owners, CEOs, etc. Have I let love land? If not, it's because greed, selfishness, fear, and death are in the way. My disconnection. 1 more minute. And feel what that does, how that feels. Maybe there's a sense of freedom, relief, expansion. Maybe there's also grief, confusion. So we've gone through 2 phases of death, purifier and destroyer, and now we go into the renewal. Death as a rebirth, death as a restructuring, death as a renewal, death as an opportunity for the fresh, for the new, for the alive to come through. Death of the old. So again, reflecting in, this is our last stage in the purification part before we get to the ritual part. What structures that you're clinging onto must go? Structures in your life or identity structures. What's the old? What's rotted? What's gotten all stinky and smelly? Needs to go. Offering it to the fire of death. The old ways that aren't serving us. If emotions come, allow them. There is a mourning. There is grieving. Because the end of an era has come. The end of a civilization and a way of living and a way of being has come. And maybe that brings pain and grief. Allowing it. And what's your part? What are you letting go of all that? 1 minute. And what's the new? It's the rebirthing. What's the new? What seeds have been planted? What wants to sprout? What wants to be built? What wants to be manifest? What qualities? What energies? Name them out loud. Allow them to move through you, through your body. So when we've walked through this portal of disconnection and fear of death, we will get to the other side. What's waiting there? Love. This love that is anchoring. And these are the 4 portals that you will face in this time of crisis. Greed, selfishness, fear, disconnection, death. And so even if we're not 100% purified and still have things to work through, it's okay. Let's align with love. Okay, before I move on, does anybody want to share anything or make any comments about how it is up until now for you, what you've let go, or what's happening? I'll just give that space for a minute. If you want to type just a word or two or phrase in, or you can just send little sticker things that pop up. Okay. 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 Sharing unity, love. Oh my fucking God. Very powerful. Thank you so much. Okay. Just last moments if anybody else wants to crystallize their experience in just a few words. Take my pride and arrogance, you Grim Reaper. I am part of nature and nature is part of me. Yes, there's only one of us here. Okay. All right. Thank you for those who typed in. Okay. Okay, there's one more. Wild thing, uncontrollable chaos in a beautiful dance of nature's life force. Yes. Yes. How could I, this little cell on this little spot of this cheek of this great being called Earth, think that I can control life? It's really a joke, a cosmic joke. Okay. Whew. All right, so with the burning, with the fires, with the whole space that is created for life to come in, we now connect to the sacred. We now connect to love. So closing your eyes, connecting to your heart center, and connecting to what you hold most sacred in your personal life. We start there because you are a personal being. So we don't forget that part of us, our human part of us. The whole thing is a human part of us, but let's say our mundane human daily life experience, what most people refer to as human. Being a soul is also human. So what do I hold most sacred at the personal level? Maybe it's a particular relationship. It's a connection to something, to a being, or to a person, to family, to what you do, work. And connecting now to the soul realm. And maybe that's a little more difficult for you, or you don't know the distinction. What does that mean? Okay, forget definitions and labels and mind stuff. Connect to the one quality or energy flow that you can put into one word or one phrase maximum, not even a sentence, that you hold most sacred, that you would stand for no matter what, and that has been with you in perhaps different ways, different manifestations, since you can remember, or since your mother or grandmother can remember, and they tell you, you were always or whatever it is. What is it that you hold most sacred? Maybe it's truth. Maybe it's freedom. Maybe it's the purity of love. Maybe it's the sacredness of life. Name it. And you'll know it's it because your whole body will align. Your whole being will align. There will be a resonance. In one way or another, you will know, yes, this is what I hold most sacred. And it's okay if, it's like, oh, I'm not sure. It's okay. Find the resonance and connect to it. Don't second guess. Leave the mind aside. Let your heart speak. Beyond the personal. That which is not linked to a particular person or place or time in this manifestation. It's a quality, it's an energy. It's a force of love. Last moments. And knowing that there are others who hold the same thing as sacred. So if you feel to, you can type in that one word or that one energy, that one phrase of that energy in, and I can read it out loud, and others can hear each other, and because you can't speak. And it's not just about whoever's alive right now, but it's the whole 8 billion of us on this planet, 8 billion cells. Okay, what is it that I hold most sacred? And there are others who resonate with this, some version of this, their unique expression of this quality. So there's one that's come in, love. Beauty. Yes, beauty. Freedom. Everything is sacred. Truth. Oh my God, the rays. Oh my goodness. Essence. Love. So you're all naming essential oil drop versions of soul rays. Sexuality, truth, soul rays. So know that there are others all over this planet. There's only 7 soul rays. 7 rays. Personality rays or soul rays. 7 rays. 7 expressions of love. Now we're starting with those key numbers I described in the beginning. Sacred numbers. Interconnectedness. So 8 billion of us fit into these 7. So that means there's a bunch of people with you. A bunch of other souls, a bunch of other human beings that are holding the same thing sacred. And maybe they express it in a totally different way. If I take the example of beauty, maybe they do beauty in art, or maybe it's just the way they see the world, that everything is beautiful. Or maybe this interconnectedness, maybe it's about a group, a tribe, physical people there, or maybe it's about with nature and with all the beings. So it doesn't matter how it's specifically manifest, but it's the quality, it's the essential oil drop, that which you've named, empathy, that which you hold most sacred. There are so many others. Have your eyes closed and start to feel them, all those cells, and start to reorganize yourself. So this cell in this cheek is now going to feel that all the cells, the one above it, the one below it, the one next to it to the right, the one next to it to the left, the one behind, the one in front, all the cells around you are vibrating, resonating with that same sacredness being held. And now it becomes much easier to feel ourselves as connected to each other, and that there isn't the singular selfish I. As soon as we move to soul realm, as soon as we move to the sacred, notice the difference for yourself, in your being, in your energy flow, in your body. So there are others holding the same vibration, expressing it in their very unique way as they incarnated to do. And you have yours. But now, with each breath, you move as one with this group of cells, this group of others holding this vibration as the most sacred. And it's not a competition, there's no hierarchy, it's a circle. And the love needs truth, and needs the interconnectedness, and needs the beauty, and needs the divinity, it needs the freedom. All of it needs each other, the web. And all of it is an expression of love, anchoring. So connect for one moment how you're anchoring this love in the world today. Not how you would like to, but how you already are. Not what are you going to do tomorrow, but what you are already doing. And it doesn't matter if it feels like or seems like there's just a little drop, a little grain, a little sunflower seed in a whole field of sunflowers. It doesn't matter. This one cell on this little cheek, so important. Every cell needs to do its part for the form to function. So own, recognize, honor that which you are already doing to express this vibration of what you hold most sacred as a soul. In life, in matter, in form, on the planet, now, already, yesterday, this morning. And how does that feel now in your being? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to turn into the direction of northeast. Face northeast. That was part of the instructions, that you know which way is northeast. And again, if you don't know exactly, just know that the sun rises towards the east. Which way is the sun rise this morning from where you're standing? That's in front of you. To your left is north. So in between what's in front of you and what's to your left is northeast. Okay, MacGyver. Facing northeast. Closing your eyes. And giving your consent that not only your soul travels to the Wesak Valley now as we're coming into the last hour before the full moon, but your being, this vehicle, this cup, is ready to receive and anchor that energy, that transmission. So seeing that valley with very low grass, shrubs, brownish, and trees on the mountains, covered by mountains to both sides, but northeast is clear. There's a gap in the mountains, an opening. And in your inner world, in your inner realm, or maybe you're more kinesthetic and it's not visual and it's just a feeling, a sense, and you can allow yourself to move physically if that feels right for you. Making your way into the valley and finding your place. This is what I stand for, that which you already named, that quality. And this is who stands with me. Finding that group there in the Wesak Valley now. Of your soul ashram, your soul group. I know the what, and I know who. And for now, the where is in this valley. visualizing in front of you that these become like a half moon shape of 7 groups. So there's one being holding point, so 7 beings, half moon, and the ashrams, the groups of people in resonance with that quality that this one being is holding point for behind them. So it's like a fan. And start to feel the vibration of the gathering. Everyone taking their place. And those who have more deeper soul initiations towards more the front, and those with more newer initiations towards the back. That doesn't mean you're less in any way, because same vibration. Same vibration. Know your place. Stand. Stand where you're meant to stand. And keep breathing. And so it's like one organism is breathing in and breathing out. One form. In order for this energy to land, humanity must know itself as one, recognize itself as one. Through our heartbeats, through our breath, one. Evoke that. Know it as truth. Individual, yes. Disconnected or separate, no. So this whole fan of initiates and masters, 7 groups, 7 masters, 7 ashrams, 7 rays of love, breathing as one, beating as one, heartbeat. And in front of this half moon crescent, the form of the pentagram, 5-pointed star, the pentagram reveals itself. And the point of the star is pointing exactly northeast. It doesn't matter where you're standing. There's only one of us here. Seeing that pentagram light up. And with your loving presence, you can even trace the pentagram. Or maybe make gestures with your hands, or maybe even you can stand and you can walk the pentagram. Keep facing northeast. And now we move into the cross. 4 points, 2 axes, 1 horizontal, 1 vertical, and the center. Visualizing a cross. 4 sacred points. The top of the cross, facing northeast. And again, you can create the symbol using your hands or using your entire body, moving, walking it, or just visualizing it, evoking it, feeling it. Core polarities, the cross. And having a sense that you can stand in the center of that cross. So in the center of the horizontal and the vertical axis where they meet. And it doesn't matter where in the valley you are, there's only one of us here. Standing in the center of the cross. And now letting the cross go and connecting to the triangle. 3 points. From 7 we've moved to 5, we moved to 4, and now we move to 3. The point of the triangle facing northeast, pointing northeast. Again, drawing it with your hand, visualizing it, feeling it, walking it, continuing to face northeast. And finding yourself standing at the apex of the triangle. And from 3 we move to 2. Represented by the Master, the Buddha and the Master, the Christ. These are not people, persons, these are masters, beings. The brotherhood of man, which does not mean men in masculine or male bodies, it's of human, moving into 2. The embrace or the holding of the hand of 2 coming together, 2. You can put your 2 hands together, the palms towards each other, the union of the 2. Into the 1. So what we've been creating now is like satellites. We're all our antennas. There's only one of us here, and now every single antenna has made it into 1, pointing northeast, ready to receive the transmission, the blessings of Wesak, the festival of Buddha, that descends once a year for 8 minutes. Those 8 minutes will start in 35 minutes. 36 minutes. If you have the time, sit in meditation, in stillness or in silence. It doesn't have to be stillness. Maybe your meditation is drawing or is dancing, moving. But at least in silence, and receive. Get as far out of the way as possible and stay with that one. And receive the unknown, whatever is meant for us to receive. If you don't have that time, you can do that now, and when you can sit for 8 minutes now. Evoke the life force transmission that will come with the Buddha from the center of the galaxy, from our oneness, from the black hole. Evoke life force, let it penetrate you through the back of the heart. And sit for 8 minutes, and when that's complete, or sit as much as you can, and when that's complete, drink the water. If you're going to sit in meditation now until the actual full moon time at finish time 1:45, so 4 minutes before and 4 minutes after, then you drink the water afterwards, after Buddha has left our material plane. His presence has left us. You drink the water of life, and be infused for the rest of the year. Let yourself be a transmitter. The vibration that you walk, breathe, touch, everything that you do. Let it be an anchoring of love, knowing that you will be facing these portals that we have faced together today, here, again and again. But it will not be of suffering. It will be of freedom, of truth, of love. Blessings on our collective soul initiation. I would love to hear from you whenever this is complete for you. I'm going to sign off now, go into meditation, receive the blessings, and come back to read your comments and reply to them at a later time. They mean a lot to me, so I'd love for you to be able to do that when the time is right for you. Staying with the one. Wesak blessings to all. There's only one of us here standing in this valley.